Democratic Senator Cory Booker of New Jersey and Republican Senator Tim Scott of South Carolina do not have a lot in common politically, except they are the only African Americans currently serving in the United States Senate, both elected. They came together Thursday to visit the museum for the very first time. The senators spoke to us about growing up as African Americans, as well as their hopes for the future of the country.
I'll tell you, when I walked in here, I first thought about my grandfather, who had passed away in January of this year. I thought about taking him to vote for the first African-American president, a day that he never thought would come. Walking in here, understanding the weight of history, the gravity of the circumstances that we face as a nation, encouraged me, saddened me, and made me understand the important role that we can play in making this country better together.
As senators?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And what's interesting, too, is that you come from two very different backgrounds. You're the Democratic senator from New Jersey, Republican senator from South Carolina.
Yes.
You came from single mother,
single-parent
household.
Poverty.
Moderate and poverty.
Poor, did not do really well in school, so my story really is a kid that almost flunked out of high school. You got a Rhodes Scholar over here, so we have a contrast in our experience growing up and where we are today.
And what unites you?
Well, I think a lot. People would expect somebody who's, I joke with them, far out there on the right, yeah. and myself on the left. But there is a kinship and a bond I felt with Tim almost instantly, a friendship, a commonality of experiences. We may have come out of two different backgrounds, but we share a common heritage and a common experience. I think because we both share a sense of common mission when it comes to our country as a whole, as well as when it comes to African Americans in the country.
That sense of service led both senators to step across the aisle and fight together to reform the criminal justice system.
We have a country right now where there's no difference between blacks and whites for using drugs or even dealing drugs. But African Americans are almost 4 times more likely to be arrested for doing things that the last 2 presidents admitted to doing. And it's been such a massive reality that our prison populations and jails are filled with the poor, minorities, mentally ill, drug addicted. We now are the land of the free. We're the incarceration nation leader on the globe, planet Earth. And it's infecting every area of American life. And so what I rejoice in is that I'm co-sponsoring legislation with Tim. Both sides of the aisle are beginning to see a common urgency from a fiscal prudency perspective all the way to the righteousness of this crusade, that if we're going to be the land of liberty, then we need to do this a different way.
I have, however, felt the pressure applied by the scales of justice when they are slanted.
Speaking of the contemporary issues of conflict between community and law enforcement, you gave a moving speech on the Senate floor in which you talked about how many times you'd been stopped by police as an elected official.
Yes, 7 times in 1 year. And for me, what I had hoped to do with that speech was to bring light to a very old issue. My goal was to validate those of us who have been in that situation, who have had that experience, who have felt threatened sitting in your car, who just because of what you look like, you've had an experience that shakes you to your core. It's hard to articulate with words the frustration, the insecurity, the sense of being invisible and then completely visible. It's hard to validate those of us who have been in that situation, especially when you've done nothing wrong.
And then below it here is a slave cabin. Both senators hope this historic museum will serve as validation,
my goodness,
as well as proof of how far we have come.
It does seem to be necessary for us to remind ourselves of where we've been.
And an inspiration for how far we need to go.
I hope that one of the beauties of this museum being here will be an understanding and appreciation of the depth of the pain, agony, and tragedy of slavery. I hope that the weight of the past will slow your gait and bow your head. And as you walk out here, I hope that the sense of freedom and a sense of expectations will overwhelm you, and that you will feel individually responsible for making America the most amazing country for every single citizen in our land.